Hello everyone. Today we will start active and passive voice. Today we will start active and passive voice. In the previous class we discussed about the syllabus of class 10 and today we will learn active and passive voice. So first of all, definition of active and passive voice. The first definition of active voice active voice. When the subject of a verb acts, when the subject of a verb acts, the verb is said to be in the active voice. The verb is said to be in the active voice. For example, I made a mistake. I made a mistake. I made a mistake. The subject I here is functional. It means it is active. The performance is done by, the work is done by the subject. Therefore, the voice of the verb will be said that it is in active voice. We can say that subject is important in active voice. Second, passive voice. Passive voice. When the object of the active voice becomes the subject. When the object of the active voice becomes the subject, the verb is said to be in the passive voice. Passive voice. For example, a mistake was made by me. A mistake was made by me. Just see carefully in the, this is your object and this is your subject and this is verb. Now this is your subject and this is your verb and this is your object. See how the changes occur in passive voice. The object becomes the subject. It means the object is more important in passive voice, and the form of the verb is also changed. Here it is made and here it is was made. So you can understand the definition of active and passive voice. Again, I am repeating the definition of active and passive voice. Active voice, when the subject of a verb acts, it means the verb is said to be in the active voice. And passive voice, when the object of the active voice becomes the subject, the verb is said to be in the passive voice. After that, after learning the definition, we will learn the uses of the passive voice. Second point of discussion is when to use the passive voice. When to use the passive voice. When the action shown, when the action shown by the verb and not the subject, and not the subject is important. When the action shown by the verb and not the subject is important. It means in passive voice, subject is not important, object is important. Second use, when we use when the subject is either unknown or insignificant. Insignificant. When the subject is either unknown or insignificant, means you don't know what is your subject, and then we use the passive voice. We will move forward to the rules. Now, after use of the passive voice, we will move forward to the rules for rules for changing a verb from the active voice into the passive voice. The first rule: the object group. First, the object of the active verb is made the subject, is made the subject of the passive verb. Have you understood? In passive voice, we change the subject and object. Object becomes the subject and subject becomes the object in passive voice. Second rule is the subject of the active verb, of the active verb, the subject of the active verb is made the object of some preposition, that is generally y. Generally we use by. The subject of the active verb is made the object of some preposition. So this is your second rule. Third rule, the verb of the active voice, the verb of the active voice must have the past participle form of the finite verb of the finite verb and some form of the verb, some form of the verb will be used before it, will be used before it. For example, is, are, am, has, has been, will be, is, being, etc. like this. 4. Rule number 4. Some vague and indefinite subjects, some vague and indefinite subject, indefinite subjects subjects like everyone, everyone, people, somebody, anybody, etc. etc. are dropped, are dropped. It means it is not used, we drop it. And fifth use is the tense of the verb does not change. The tense of the verb does not change. We do not change the tense of the verb. The tense remains same. Now, how we change? After rules, we change the pronouns. Number 4, the pronouns as subject are changed, as object. The pronouns as subjects are changed as objects. For example, subject I becomes me in object. We becomes us. You becomes you, no change. She becomes her. He becomes him. They becomes them. It becomes it, and who becomes whom. You can see the pronouns changes, the change of pronoun as subject into object. I becomes me, we becomes us, you becomes you, she becomes her, he becomes him, they becomes them, it remains it, and who becomes whom. After that, the tense chart, it means how we use the tense chart in passive voice or passive voice. First of all, present tense, tense, subject plus is, are, am plus V3 plus other words, that is simple. In continuous, it is subject plus is, are, am plus being plus V3 plus other words. And in perfect tense, subject plus has, have plus been plus V3 plus other words. This is your tense chart for changing active into passive voice in present tense, simple present, continuous and perfect tense, that is present perfect. Present perfect continuous, we don't need, we don't require, it is not used in passive voice. Next is your past tense. Past tense, at first simple past tense, simple past tense, subject plus was, were plus V3 plus other words. Simple past tense. Past continuous, continuous will be subject plus was, were plus being plus V3 plus other words. And for past perfect, it will be subject plus had plus been plus V3 plus other words. So this is the sentence structure in past tense. Past perfect continuous is not used. Now we will see the tense chart for future. Future tense. First of all, in simple future, subject plus shall या will plus be plus V3 plus other words. Future continuous, no change. Future continuous, no change. And future perfect, future perfect is will, subject plus will, shall plus have been plus V3 plus other words. Present perfect continuous, present, past perfect continuous and future perfect continuous is not required in active and passive voice. So this is the tense chart. Now we will change of voice in present tense. Now you can easily change the voice in present tense from active to passive. You know, now you know the rules for changing from the active voice into the passive voice. You also know the tense, how it is changed, and first of all, affirmative sentence. How we change active into passive in affirmative sentence? For example, for example, You eat bread. Eat is your subject and object. Eat in present tense. So for passive voice, how it will change? Bread is eaten by you. The subject becomes object and object becomes subject, and according to the tense chart, active voice is in present tense, and the rules, according to the rules, is plus V3 is used in passive voice. Second example, we teach you. We teach you. It means this is active. You are taught by us. This is passive. Now, I hope you must have understood the rules of the changing active into passive voice. For homework, I am giving some sentence for you to do at your home. For homework, for homework, change into passive voice. Change into passive voice. We respect our teachers. B. He does not keep his room clean. Keep his room clean. And C. Does he cook the dinner? Does he cook the dinner? And D. The inspector, the inspector does not investigate investigate the murder. You have to change it in passive voice. This is for your homework. Class is over. Thank you very much.